I'm your huckleberry.
This is the Smokin Gunz Podcast.
No G with a Z. POD, Smokin Gunz Podcast. We are a podcast about professional football in the San Antonio area. That includes the San Antonio Gunslingers of the Indoor Football League. Guns up. Great win from them this week. We get to talk about that. And we also talk about the Brahmas of the United Football League. Also a win there. I'm getting kind of used to this winning thing.
It's nice, isn't it?
Right? My name is Philip Higginbotham. I am joined, as always, by my good friends, Leonardo Yamas.
What's up, Smokin Gunz Posse?
And R.C. Woods.
Hello, beautiful people. Mwah.
Way to be San Antonio. We are the best in Texas. The episode is Season 4, Episode 11, The Best in Texas. I don't really count Houston, even though I live basically in Houston. Houston is like West Louisiana. It doesn't really count as Texas. The San Antonio Gunslingers and the Brahmas both went up to the Metroplex and put a hurting on the Metroplex. If the Metroplex thought football belonged up there in Dallas, they figured it out, or they're gonna figure it out. With the Gunslingers going into Frisco and stunning everyone. Chase Risman says they stunned everybody. They didn't stun everybody. We weren't surprised. The three of us and folks that are on this show heard last week that there was a chance that it was possible. You know what I thought was funny, Leo, is they talked about this on Brandon last week, a couple of days after our show. The line for that game was 16.5 points.
Crazy.
16.5 points. There ain't no way the San Antonio Gunslingers, even if the defense was what it was at the beginning of the season, that they were losing to Frisco by 17 points.
No way.
Yeah. It's like we said last week. We called it. We said Frisco hadn't faced an offense like what they were going to face with the San Antonio Gunslingers. And the question was going to be, did they have what it takes to stop that offense? And the answer was a resounding nope.
54 to 52. The Gunslingers hang on with a last-minute interception. Just an incredible game, an exciting game. And Leo, you were in the building for the game, and I heard you got a warm welcome from Frisco Fighters fans and players. They were very excited to see the San Antonio contingent right there along the wall. If you were watching the broadcast, you saw Leo and James Palmer and Dolores a ton because they were right up there against the wall in the end zone. How was the crowd for you guys?
Well, the crowd was, I mean, size-wise, it was decent. You know, we can't really flex because San Antonio crowds definitely need to be better than what they have been. We know they can be better, and we'll talk about that later. So I'm not going to flex about the size of the crowd, even though I think we've got a little bit room to flex there, but I just won't do it. But what I will say is the crowd there was not very happy to see San Antonio Gunslingers turn out. They were a little surprised that we were there. They didn't look too happy that we were there. They certainly didn't like the noise that we were making. I have to say, they are a very quiet crowd. Like,
really? Just
overall. You hear the PA announcer and they're saying, get loud, and they're like never loud, like ever. Like, not loud, not excited. They're there watching the game, and you could tell that they are passionate about their team, but they're kind of a reserved crowd, maybe. Except for when it comes to getting balls. Those guys, you know, game balls that are coming out over the walls, they're relentless. I mean, relentless to the fact that they're, you know, they can hurt somebody back beneath that net behind the goalposts. It got a little hairy there for a while. But, yeah, Jason Wood, they put a hush on the cowbells. Exactly. So when Lolies and I were walking in, we've got our cowbells, and we're you
Right.
have to walk through security. You got to walk through the magnet things, and we have to hand over our stuff so we can walk through. And they're looking at our cowbells. They're like, "What are these?" They're like, "Why do you have these?" And we're like, "Well, that's kind of what we do for the San Antonio Gunslingers. Like we cheer with
We bring
cowbells."
them.
And
Make
I was
some
like,
noise.
are these not loud in the game? And she didn't know what to say. She goes, I don't think they are, but let me check. So we waited. Wasn't long, a couple of minutes. They came back and they're like, no, you're good. You can bring these in. Go ahead. So
Oh,
we
good.
walked in with our cowbells, and then we get to our section, and we're standing in the end zone. It's called the party zone there, or the fighter zone, I think is what they call it. And that's when we started
Whatever.
getting the look. Yeah, that's when we started
Whatever.
getting the looks from the fans. Like, hey, why are there so many Gunslinger fans here? Like, what are you guys doing here? And then, not just looks, but as you mentioned earlier, we had some players as they were warming up, looking over at us and coming over to us and doing some smack talk
What?
before the game. Oh yeah,
No manners.
there was some smack talk going on between the players and the Gunslingers posse out in the stands down there behind the wall. They were okay. So this guy, I'm gonna say a name because I'm pretty sure it was him. So I'm gonna call him. I'm gonna call him out, but I might be wrong. I apologize if I get the name wrong. He wasn't wearing his jersey at the time. He's wearing a T-shirt, and then of course when they're on the field playing, they got a helmet on, so it was hard to tell. And then after the game, they got taken to the locker room, and they were getting reamed, I think. So it took them a while to come out. And Lolis and I had a whole agenda. We had quite the weekend. So we did not stay long enough to speak with anybody afterwards. But Eth Castleberry, one of the defensive backs, I believe it was him. He comes over to us, and as James Palmer was saying a little while ago, he says, "Man, y'all wasted your money and time coming up. I can't believe you made that trip up here. I feel sorry for you guys. You know it's going to be a
How
blowout,
rude.
right? You know it's going to be a blowout." Yeah, I'm looking at him like, really? And we're kind of laughing, and we're expecting him to laugh, but he wasn't laughing. He was serious. He's like, no, we're going to blow you out. And we're like, I don't think so, man. You haven't been paying attention if you think this is going to be easy. And he says, you guys only won one game. He's like, I feel sorry for y'all. He said he felt sorry for us for making the trip and coming out to watch a blowout, and that we were going to go home extremely disappointed and having wasted our time and money. So that being said, I was like, all right, man, we'll see. I was like, we got the best quarterback in the league. And he looks
Yes,
at me
we
and
do.
he starts laughing. He started laughing. He said, "Oh," he goes, "Yeah, right." And I was like, seriously? Sam Castronova? You heard the name? You know anything about the guy? Have you watched the film? These guys came in obviously looking past.
Delusional.
They thought it was going to be easy. He wanted to bet money. He was like, "You guys want to put money on it?" He goes, "I'll bet y'all right now." And of course, I'm not going to bet on on the against a player. I didn't want to go that far, not because I didn't have confidence, but I'm already spending money on the trip up there. And so we were hesitant to bet, and he's all, "Y'all don't even believe in y'all's team because you're gonna get blown out." And I said, "Yeah, we'll see. Let's wait till after the game." And then after the game, like I said, none of the team was anywhere to be seen for several minutes. They didn't come out for a while. I don't know if James or any of the other guys were there long enough to have words with those guys or speak with them. But fans were kind of the same attitude. You guys are going to have a long night. We had some fans looking over at us saying, "Why are you here?" And annoyed with the cowbells. They complained about the cowbells. Talked to somebody in the stadium venue. They came and they took they didn't take our cowbells away. They said, "You can't use the cowbells. If you use the cowbells, we're going to have to throw you out. So either put them away,
Oh my God.
or you're going to have to leave." So they used that air horn to start off the game, and they said, we said, "Well, they allowed us to bring them in. There's no signage. We don't see any kind of signs anywhere saying that their noisemakers are not allowed." and they said, well, it's on our website. So Lois pulls out her phone, and she's searching the website trying to find it.
Girl. There you go.
She could not find it anywhere. And then they start the game. They have that siren horn that they do.
Air raid siren.
Yeah, exactly. So when they're doing that air raid siren, we're looking at each other like, if they can use the siren, we're going to use our cowbells. And so we did. We were using them despite the warning. And a short time later, probably midway through the first quarter, they came out and said, you need to stop, or they're coming right now to remove you from the premises. Someone's on their way if you don't stop right now. So we didn't want to leave the game. We put the cowbells away, and we just said, okay, well, we're just going to make noise ourselves, yelling and screaming, banging the dasher boards on the pads. What we do at every game, by the way, at Freeman Coliseum. Yeah. And what I'm saying is what Frisco fans don't do. They're just not as engaged and excited about being there as San Antonio fans are. And it really showed, and they were annoyed by us. You know, I heard things like what happens in San Antonio should stay in San Antonio. You guys need to get out of here. You need to go back home, and you guys suck, things like that. Not everybody. There were a couple of fans that I was talking to, and just saying we're just fans, man. We're having a good time. We're supporting our team. One guy was saying that we were being obnoxious, but I mean, we weren't doing anything that we don't do at home in the Freeman Coliseum. We weren't being rude. We weren't degrading anybody or saying you guys suck or this or that. We were just saying our team is a lot better than you think we are. And you know what? They proved it on the field.
Indeed, they did. I want to talk about that a little later, but I want to get into this a little bit, this idea of fans making noise for their team, fans being told by players you've wasted your money to come and support your team. Some of this kind of stuff. Like, here's what I want San Antonio to know or to think or to understand about this. That's not who we are. Like, Saturday night, when Frisco Fighters fans show up, if they do such a thing, if they show up, which I don't know. We may see a few, we may see a bunch. I don't know. But I have confidence that our fans, by and large, there's always idiots in every crowd, but by and large, will be welcoming. We'll rib them. We'll give them a hard time. Sure. I can remember Zach Brown's in the chat right now, and Zach, we're sorry to see your time with the Gunslingers, at least for now, come to an end. We heard that earlier today, and that's a bummer. Not the end for you, not the end for the Gunslingers, just not the way any of us wanted to see that work. But I remember Zach Brown coming to the Freeman Coliseum last year as a member of the Carolina Cobras. And before kickoff, he and I exchanged quite a few words with one another, all good-natured, all ribbing each other back and forth. In the end, he proved himself right because the Carolina Cobras won that game. And I didn't have anything to say about it, but that's fine. That's good. That's the way it should be. I can't imagine players whose salaries, whose money they're making are paid by fans who walk in the door, no matter who they are. They don't get paid more or less because the crowd is bigger for San Antonio or bigger for Frisco. Like, none of that. Telling you not to come to a game. You wasted your money by coming here. What are you even doing here? No, man, we want every fan. We want Frisco Fighters fans in the Freeman Coliseum. We want Duke City Gladiator fans in the Coliseum. We want even Jacksonville Sharks fans in the Coliseum. We want them all to show up for the game. Like, I don't get that. I don't understand that. And then this idea that you can't make noise for your team with cowbells, or you can't make noise like you were being obnoxious because you were making noise. You know what? That makes me very excited to welcome the Frisco Fighters into Freeman Coliseum this week, because if that's what they're used to in this home, like quiet, please, pinkies out, and please be respectful of the teams on the field as they play the game. Please be quiet and let them play. Like, they ain't gonna like Freeman. They ain't gonna like Freeman at all.
No, they will not.
And I'm all kinds of excited about that.
We need
I
to
will
be.
just make a small comment about their cheerleaders. I always try to be as positive as possible, but honest. So I'll make 2 comments. One, the cutoff jean shorts are not a good look. And number 2, have the team all wear the same color boots. That's just not negative.
I did notice the boot colors. I don't have a problem with the cutoff jeans. Like I get it. That's a country thing. But I did notice the boots. I was watching with family in the house, and I did notice the boots. We got to bring back the foghorns.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Like the air powered. No, we're not.
I mean, we're
Sandy Johnson says, "Are y'all talking UFL?" No, we're not to the UFL yet. We're talking IFL smoking, or we're talking Gunslingers football right now.
Yeah, she's saying she's not quiet as a fan, so she's with us. She's supporting us. As that, it's good to be loud and support your team.
Always be loud for your team, and no matter where they are. Like I can't believe that unless there is some sort of facility rule against cowbells, and I can't imagine that such a thing exists.
Well, apparently someone did bring a phone and showed us from the venue and showed us where it was on their website. I didn't see it myself, but I heard, they just showed us where it was. And then we jokingly laughed and said, yeah, they just put it on there.
They just quick
Lowly's
website.
Yeah.
Do you remember the password to get into the website?
But really, this is Texas. Cowbells, that's just what you do on Friday Night Lights, football games.
Yeah.
It's so Texas.
I am surprised by our friends up in Frisco that they would be that
petty,
inhospitable, unwelcoming.
Yeah, and Jordan
Steuben makes a great point. If that was a venue rule, you wouldn't have gotten in with them because the security was tight.
Exactly.
And I said that, I mentioned they went and checked and then came back and said, okay, you guys are good to take them in. And then speaking of that, they didn't even let James Palmer, he brought a little tripod to hold up his phone or his camera to take pictures, and they didn't let him in with that. They didn't let the tripod in. But they let in the cowbells.
I've run into that before. I can remember going years ago. This was 4 or 5 years ago, going to Arlington for a Texas Ranger game, and my buddy bringing a selfie stick with him, and he just had it in his pocket, and it's not metal that'll set off a metal detector or anything, so he didn't take it out of his pocket. But when we got to our seats, he wanted to take a picture, and he extended it, and we were taking a picture, and there was an usher on us. Immediately, you cannot have that. You can't have that in the stadium. You have to give that over or put it in your pocket. I can't see it again. And I'm like, what? Why? And he goes, it's a weapon. And I'm like, do you know what a selfie stick is? It's plastic. It's plastic painted to look like metal. It's not metal. It's not a weapon. What are you talking about? A weapon? But yeah, no, it was that I've seen before. The tripods and the selfie sticks and that kind of stuff. Like I've seen that. Not allowed before, but Jordan makes a great point. Like if it was a venue rule, they would have known that and they wouldn't have allowed you in with it. Sounds like they were just getting a little butthurt that our fans were more into the game than their fans were.
That's true.
Yep,
Their fan was. I don't know. Was there more than one there? Because it didn't look like it. I'm just saying.
There were a few, but yeah, we were chanting defense. We were rowdy and loud. All of the Gunslingers posse that was up there. That traveled, and we did travel well. There were James Palmer and his family, along with me and Lolis in the end zone, and then I saw Alex McSwain up in the stands among many others.
Sure,
you could see the Gunslingers being represented. Obviously, all the Steubings were there. Don Rackler was there. I spoke with them after the game. I spoke with Don. I spoke with James Steubing. And I said, after that experience and seeing how the fans were there, the Frisco Fighters fan base, it made me that much prouder to be a fan of the San Antonio Gunslingers and the organization and the way things are run here. Just seeing that and experiencing that made me really proud to be a San Antonio Gunslingers fan. and a San Antonio professional football fan, because apparently we do things different down here, and we're a lot more fun
Apparently.
and rowdy. One other thing I want to bring up, and Jaden Palmer mentioned it earlier about the one of the rules, and Philip, you and I talked a bit about it after the game, and it is in the rule book, but home teams are allowed to give balls away or throw balls out into the crowd during the game or after scores to celebrate. What we found out during our time there was that visiting teams are not allowed to do so. Kali Rashad, our man, number 5, we got 5 on it. My favorite football player on the planet, 3 touchdowns. First touchdown he scores, he goes over to the sidelines, throws a ball up to his girlfriend and his son, are sitting up in the stands. Nobody said anything there, and Loli noticed that we're looking out at that, and he throws the ball over to his son, and we're like, oh, that's really great. You got the ball over to him. Scored a second touchdown. When he scored a second touchdown, he walked right up to me and handed me the ball over the wall, which this ball right here. This ball. The only thing wrong with this ball is that logo right there. But that's okay. I'm not gonna worry about that. But this is my one of my prized football possessions now. Kali Rashad scored a touchdown with this ball and handed it to me. And I did not have a Sharpie, so I got to get him to sign this for me later. But I was extremely happy to receive this from him.
I didn't want to be left out. We're all holding up our ball.
We're all holding up a football. Yes. Yeah, see, I wish I had one like that with the Gunslinger logo, but that's okay. This is the ball that Kali Rashad handed it to me after scoring a touchdown. So
this is the ball that hit my leg and gave me a bruise. So there.
Well, nothing got called there either. Then he scored his third touchdown. He walks over to the wall. I'm there with my guns up. We're all excited. And he walks right up to the wall and hands the ball over to James Palmer because it was his birthday.
Right.
By the way, happy birthday, James Palmer.
Happy birthday, James.
And he's holding up a sign. He said, hey, it's my birthday. Give me a ball. So he walks over, gives him a ball. Ref throws a flag. And we're like,
like a delay of game on Kali Rashad for giving out a ball.
Yep.
God forbid those players get fans involved in the game. How dare they?
Heaven forbid.
And that's my point. It wasn't about the rule itself. And I understand after talking with you, Philip, and some people how the home team supplies the balls. They pay for those, it's equipment. They're okay with their own players giving out to fans or whatever, but visiting players, it's like an expense to their team. But if I come home with a ball and I've got this displayed, which it will be probably displayed here at my house, and it happens to have a Frisco Fighters logo on it, and someone sees this logo, someone sees the IFL logo, and I'm in San Antonio, that's good for the IFL. That's good for the Frisco Fighters. That's good for the whole league. It's good for every team. It's good for your fan base. It's good for the league. I don't think it should matter whether it's home team or visiting team, which fan gets a ball. They're not controlling the balls that go out into the stadium that are being kicked, and whichever fans are getting some of those. I think it's a stupid rule. I think it's short-sighted. I understand that there's a cost involved, but balls are getting given away no matter what. Who does it matter who's giving it away and whose hands it ends up in? I'm bringing that home. Whoever's taking that home, somebody's going to see that outside of the arena. Somebody's going to ask about that. Somebody's going to talk about it. Somebody to say, look, I got this ball from this player, or on this situation. And that's all great for the league and great for every team.
It's good. I'll tell you what, let's take a break real quick. When we come back, we're going to talk about the game on the field. We've talked about how awesome Frisco is, not 2 fans off the field, but then we're going to talk about how awesome Frisco is on the field. Once again, not. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the game and what we saw and what we have coming up for them soon here in the Freeman Coliseum. Stick with us. We'll be right back. Smokin Gunz Podcast. Hang in there. Smokin Gunz Podcast. Philip Higginbotham, Leo Yamas, R.C. Woods. Talking about the Frisco Fighters and the San Antonio Gunslingers and a 54-52 win by your San Antonio Gunslingers in Frisco. Chase Risman asked a great question. Is this the biggest win in Gunslingers history? I think winning on the last play of the game in Albany last year is still number one for me, but this is close. I will say, I think every year that we've covered the Gunslingers, all 4 years, has had one signature win. The very first season, it was this crazy game against North Texas that ended on a Kali Rashad pass for 2-point conversion
from the kicker
that happened. It was crazy, just craziness crazy. And it was huge. The second year, 2022, I think Jay Washington already hit it on the head. That Carolina game where Carolina came into the Freeman and we beat them when we had no business beating that team at all. That was Jonathan Bain. That was the best team in the NAL at the time. And we beat them. Last year, the win over Albany, last second, once again, a Kali Rashad moment, quieting the crowd after he caught the ball to win that game in the last second. So far this season, I would call this a signature kind of win. Jay Washington says, I still remember the West Texas game. Yeah, I don't like to remember that because we really should not have won that game. Like Short should have caught that ball in the end zone and we should have lost that game in ridiculously awful fashion, actually, because we had that game sewed up at halftime and still let them back into that game and they should have won it. So I think every season has had one of these kind of signature win moments. In fact, I think that's exactly what I texted Coach on Friday night is this is the signature win. This was a big deal because everybody in the IFL, everybody that pays attention now has to start paying attention to the Gunslingers, where a lot of folks had already written us off. It's their first season in, growing pains. They're not going to be great this year. Maybe they'll get better in years to come. And now they all have to stop and go, wait a second. Are the Gunslingers doing something different? And we are. We're playing defense. And this was, Leo, the quintessential proof of what I said a few weeks back when I said we don't need to get every stop. We just need to get a couple.
Yep.
Because that was the whole difference in the game. We only got a couple of stops, but they were the right couple of stops, and we were able to win this game.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I'll add to that. You're right. It's night and day the defensive effort that we're seeing on the field from the first few games compared to the last two. And just getting a couple of stops with that offense is usually going to be good enough to get the win.
Right.
But I'll add to that. The Gunslingers defense actually had another stop in their pocket that got taken away by a dumb penalty. And on the other side of that, they also had a score on the one stop that Frisco got, because we talked about, does Frisco have what it takes to stop the Gunslingers offense? They technically, besides the kneel down to run out the clock, I'm not going to conclude that, they technically had one stop on defense themselves, but that was a touchdown on fourth down that got called back by a penalty. And then Coach Manas, after being pushed back further, decided to attempt a field goal, which sailed just barely wide right for TC Stevens. So that was their one stop that they got. But we had scored prior to that, but it was taken away by penalty. Right now, that is the Gunslingers' biggest problem. It's not the defense. It's certainly not the offense. It's penalties. If they can clean things up, they will be extremely hard to beat.
Two things that I saw, I texted you, I think, Leo, the two things that were killing us before the game ended, before I knew we won. If you told me that we lost, I would have blamed it on two things. Penalties hurt us. And I saw Jordan in here earlier saying, yeah, the refs weren't on our side. The refs aren't on your side. They
They
aren't.
weren't.
You can't control them. You can't do anything about them. That's out of your control. You have to play as tight as you can and just deal with it. And so, no, they weren't on our side, but you can't ever count for them to. You can't account for them to be on your side. So that is what it is. The second thing was we have got to learn. We're playing better defensively. We're playing better on pass defense, which was killing us earlier in the season. But we've got to learn how to stop quarterbacks from running on us. This is the second or third time in a row that a quarterback has killed us by running the ball. If Edwards doesn't run the ball as much as he does and as effectively as he does, we win this game going away, even with the penalties.
To be fair, TJ Edwards does that to everybody. I mean, he's been a weapon running the ball as well as throwing.
But that coupled with terrible secondary play was what killed us in Vegas. The Vegas quarterback ran all over us too.
Yes.
Yeah. No. One of the positive things is that we don't just have one or two players that really are involved. We have Murray, we have Myers, we have Khalid, we have Upshaw, we have Harper. So we're not just relying on one or two. It's across the board that we have receivers that can make big plays. And I think for them, I think they only had two players that were really doing some action there. So I think that's one of our positive things, that we spread the wealth, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. And not just on the offensive side, but on the defensive side at RC. I mean, you mentioned all those guys, but you've got guys stepping up and really, contributing on the defensive side now. Like we said earlier, Sanders and Tristan Vance, and then I have to give a shout out to Davenport because
even before the interception, but
before he got that interception to stop that drive and seal the game, and then I think it was the possession before that where he batted down a ball on fourth down to keep them from keeping that drive alive. So he came up really big in the fourth quarter, and he deserves a shout out on defense, because without his effort, maybe they're able to score in those last couple minutes and take the lead. But yeah, we've got lots of guys contributing. Harold Love, like Jordan Stubbe said, was a force on the line. They talked a little bit about that on the broadcast, the love on love thing, because the Frisco Fighters have their own love on their line as well. So
now I can finally talk about this. I couldn't talk about this for like 2 weeks.
Okay.
I knew Harold Love was coming before the Tucson game. In fact, there was a chance that he was going to actually suit up for Tucson, but I wasn't allowed to say anything because I wasn't allowed to say something. The coach doesn't want people to have certain information and prepare. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that he didn't want to get out there was that Harold was going to be coming in. But man, I was so excited to possibly see him in the Tucson game. That didn't happen. But seeing that mountain of a man and an athletic guy suit up and really cause some havoc in the middle. Fans of the Smokin Gunz Posse may remember a couple of weeks ago I said one of the things that could really help us out was a disruptive force on pass rush that could really make a difference in our defensive quality, the quality of our defense. Now we have Harold Love. That's exactly the kind of guy I was talking about. I was really thinking about Justin Alexander. That's the guy I really, really wanted. Yeah. But he's playing in West Texas. They had a great game. They were one of the few in the AFL that got a chance to play. Not talking about any of that. But Harold Love, I'll take that. I'll take that being our disruptive force. That's huge.
Heck yeah.
Literally huge. The guy is gigantic in the middle of that. Very cool to see them hold it together and just keep it close enough all the way through the game. And then right there at the end, do the thing that they didn't do in San Diego. So San Diego, God, do you realize how different this season looks if we're 3-2 right now, if we had held on?
I know.
Yes.
To that San Diego win. But in San Diego, they gave San Diego one last shot, and San Diego made the most of that shot and beat them. And then now you look at the score and you're like, well, they beat them by more than one possession. Not really. They beat them by, 2 points or 1 point or whatever it was. And then we we did something dumb when we were trying to get back in the game and ended up scoring a touchdown on defense, which I've come up with a new theory, Leo. This is for football all the way around. I believe defensive touchdowns should not give your team points. It should take points away from the other team. I want to see a game end 21 to -7, not 28 to
Good luck on that one, Philip. Good luck.
We've talked about some crazy ideas on this show before, but that one may be one of the top crazy ones.
That's the top of the list.
I'm not saying I don't like it, but yeah, I doubt that's ever going to happen.
I want defensive touchdowns to take points off of the board. I think it's the way it should be. I'm starting when you the fans install me as commissioner of the National Football League. This will be my first order of business, is to take points off the board for defensive touchdowns off of the opposing team. This is my platform I'm running on.
Interesting concept.
It's not nuts, Mo. Think about it. Think about how incredible it would be to be up on a team 47 to -14.
Yeah, you're just that. That's like you're rubbing people's nose into it. You're giving them a negative score. Like, yeah, that's
I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
How do you have good sportsmanship in a contest like that? Like how do how do you go up to somebody after a game, an opponent, and shake their hand and say good game when the score is like 54 to -38? You know,
think of what it does. Think of what it does to betting lines.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's another reason that will never happen. That's probably the biggest reason that will never happen.
It's not a moneymaker. It would not make money.
Oh, it would make Vegas money, and so there's a good chance that this would happen if I can ever game steam on it, because it throws in a whole nother layer of improbability that Vegas can get a handle on and the normal bettor can't. I'm telling you right now, Vegas would love it.
Vegas is going to make money no matter what. We're the ones that are going to lose.
That's true. That's true. Hey, I'm going to pull this.
Touch on a little bit about
safeties would be -2 points. Yes.
So the watch party, I didn't go to it on Friday, but they did change the venue. It was still main event, but they changed it to 281 and 1604. And so I did contact and reach out to Rick Vela, our masked super fan. He says there was about 20 people there. 3 players showed up, and I know Zach Brown was one of them. And so I think it's incredible that even moving the location, we still have at least 20 people going. It looked, from the video that I saw, it was pretty hyped. Rick said it was a good crowd. So, and that's important to me, and I'll bring it up later with the other team that we're going to discuss, that the team always has an option for the fans. They take care of us. They make plans ahead of time, not the day before, and they look out for the fans who can't go to the game or who don't want to watch it on TV, but who want to be part of it. And I love that the Gunslingers go out of the way to find a watch party that's safe, that has good food, that has good parking. Parking's a big deal, right? And the staff is always friendly. So kudos to the Gunslingers for giving the fans another opportunity to enjoy the game, not only being at the game, watching the game, but actually at the watch games. So
incredible job by the Gunslingers. Switching back over to the field, on the field. Sam Castronova, 222 yards, 8 touchdowns. Is Sam going to win Offensive Player of the Week 2 weeks in a row?
He better.
He
better. I mean, if there was any doubt by those Frisco players that he's the best or one of the best quarterbacks in the league, well, they're laughing when he make that statement. I bet after the game they weren't laughing anymore.
No, absolutely not. Jay Washington has been beating the drum already. He says Sam for MVP. I think he's a candidate. I do. I absolutely think he's a candidate for MVP. 222 yards is a lot in indoor football.
Oh yeah,
it's a lot.
8 touchdowns. And on the subject of Sam Castronova, I'm going to bring up a comment earlier from Jason Wood. Why does it seem like every first down the play is a handoff to number 10? It's a bit too predictable. I understand that thought process, but my answer to that question is getting the running game involved, even against a team like Frisco that is near impossible to run on. If you notice towards the end of the game, you had Harper and Kali Rashad popping off runs of 4, 5, 6 yards. Towards the end of the game, it was becoming more successful because you're wearing those guys out. You're making them play defense, honest defense. You're making them not, you're saying it's predictable, but at the same time, you're keeping them honest because they know that the running game is part of your game plan. And also it helps Sam Castronova take some pressure off of him. In the first few games, he was running a lot more than he has in the last 2.
Yes.
That's by design, folks. I don't think that's by accident. I think that early in the game last week at home, when he went down and didn't get up right away, I think there was a collective gasp in the Freeman Coliseum, and it wasn't just from the fan base. It was from the bench as well. And they're making a conscious effort to keep him in the pocket, put a little bit more on the running back shoulders, and just keep that defense honest, where they're not thinking that it's stop Sam Castronova, and that's the key to beating the Gunslingers.
Jason Wood comes back and says, I agree, Leo, but when it's the first play of every first down, they need to change it up. I would disagree in one particular instance, Jason. If it's working, why? If it's working and setting up what your offense wants to do, why change it? My dad, who is no football coach, says all the time, if I do something and it works, I'm going to do it until it stops working, and then I'll go on to the next thing. Now, you don't run a football team that way, but there is some logic in what he says. If you can't stop this, if this works more often than it doesn't, I'm going to do that because it works. We'll talk a little bit about that when we get over to the Brahmas. Like when running the ball gets you 8 points or 8 yards per run, why would you throw the ball in during fourth quarter when you have a lead that you're trying to protect? Anyway, I'm getting off the subject. Other comments that I wanted to mention. Our kicker seemed a little off that game. Yeah, he did. As good as he looked in the Tucson game, he was having a rough time getting it up there, and 2 blocks did not help. And that's not TC's fault.
No, that wasn't on him.
But that didn't help. And Jay Washington says, according to Stacks, this game was the first time we got a sack against an opponent. Yep. I believe that is correct. I believe that is correct. Jason, again, it is working because it's setting up what the offense wants to do beyond that. It's not about that one play. It's setting up what they want to do beyond that. And our offense is working. Our offense as a whole is working. So I don't think we need to change it up and throw another wrinkle in there when it's working. It's setting up what they want to do beyond first down. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with what we do on offense. Let's take another quick break. When we come back, let's talk about what's really important. Saturday night, because it's going to be nice. It's going to be lit. It's going to be off the chain. Do we still use that? Is that still a thing? Am I showing my age now? Off the chain? When we come back, we'll talk about Star Wars night and all of the great things that we're going to see in Freeman Coliseum. We'll be right back. Stick with us. Smokin Gunz Podcast. Smokin Gunz Podcast, Philip Picabalo, Leo Yamas, RC Woods. Good win, 52-50. Zvante Davenport pulling down the interception that, I don't know, could y'all hear me in Frisco cheer after the interception?
I thought I heard something. That was you. Okay.
My grandson heard me. That's okay. Sometimes you got to wake up the baby. It's fine. No, good game. And now we get to bring them to our house.
I want a T-shirt that says "Sometimes you gotta wake up the baby."
Sometimes you gotta wake the baby. It's fine.
I know a mama that's not going to want to get that shirt.
I know a few moms that don't want that shirt. Here's the thing about this game. my first thought was, Frisco's going to be mad. And that's true.
Yeah, yep.
Frisco's going to be mad. But San Antonio is going to be real confident. Not like overconfident, but we know we can win. We know we can beat this team. We just did that.
Last week.
And so they're going to have the confidence coming into this game of, we know if we do our job, we can beat this team. And you folks, Smokin Gunz Posse, the folks listening to this, have the opportunity to be a part of this one, to be a part of this game, to make a difference in this game and get behind them in a way we couldn't in Frisco. Some of you headed up there, you supported your team, you did exactly what you're supposed to do. Now we can all of San Antonio can come together and be that extra man on the field and change this game and give an extra layer that Frisco is not ready for.
I agree.
They're not used to it. They're not used to the noise.
Evidently.
But apparently not. They're not allowed to you can't even have a bell. I mean, a bell. It's a bell. But
man, I want them to, when they fall asleep on the bus on the way back home, they're going to be dreaming of cowbells. They're going to hear the echo of cowbells in their head as they're going home. It's going to be in their nightmares.
Jaden Bomber says we beat them without cowbells this Saturday we get to use our cowbells.
Yep.
And show Frisco how loud we can be. Enoch Flo, if I wasn't in Wisconsin, I would be there, but my son's graduation comes first. Yep, family always comes first.
Yep.
We will absolutely miss you. Jordan was listening to us earlier. Hey, Jordan, if you got a preview of your fan jersey, I know what you're talking about, or we're talking about doing. But if you got a preview of that, you should send it to me because I would love to see your fan jersey for this coming Star Wars night. It is Star Wars night. I got a message from somebody the other day asking if on the broadcast we needed to call it copyright infringement night. Ooh, he's going to send it to me. Sweet.
Nice.
It's not like Star Wars. It's Star Wars with a Z. So it's not the same thing at all. It's
there you go. I like what Ralph said on the broadcast when he said, what did he call it? Conflict celestial
bodies or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the guns with the Z, Star Wars with the Z.
Yes. That's the joke. Yeah, that's the yeah. Oh, there we go. Hold on. Y'all carry the show for a second. I've got some work to do here. Ooh.
Celestial battles.
I think what I heard was that 1,500, the first 1,500 people are getting those lightsabers.
Yep. So we can light up they better dim the lights so we can see it like they did. I'm sure they're going to do that. They did that last year. It looks incredible.
Is anyone else dressing up besides me?
Lolis is. We've got her outfit put together, working on, and she is. I'm gonna have a T-shirt, a Star Wars.
Guess what I'm gonna be. I want the fans to guess who am I gonna be.
Okay.
I could be really awful and say some really awful guesses right now, but I'm not gonna do that.
But you're right. I'm gonna be Chewbacca.
Chewbacca.
Yeah.
You should have waited for some guesses on that. Oh, look, April Stubing says we will also be having a costume contest. Very cool.
That's pretty cool.
With a Chewbacca.
I just have to work on that sound. Who can make that sound for me? Leo?
Oh, the Chewbacca sound.
Yeah,
I'm not putting that out there on the interwebs forever. I'm sorry.
Philip, can you make that sound for me?
No, I'm not doing that.
See, Jared can make a good Chewbacca sound. Well, that's why he's going to the game with me, because he's going to be right next to me making that sound all night long.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm looking.
Designer jersey that he was waiting for last game, so he'll be wearing that.
Very cool. Yeah, it also happens to be Free Comic Book Day. I know because I'm a comic book geek, and so there's going to be a lot of people cosplaying for May the 4th at the comic book stores, going out there, and I mean, keep those costumes, those cosplays going, and bring them over to the game that evening. Comic book stores may be a good place to hit up with some promotional stuff leading up to this weekend. Hint, hint, Gunslingers, as you're listening to this. Oh, wow. Speaking of Chewbacca.
Love it. That's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be
there
Chewbacca.
You go.
Oh, my
If
God.
those that are last year. If you thought last year's Star Wars Night jersey was awesome, which I almost wore that today. Like I almost put that one on instead of my Smokin Gunz because I knew it was coming up. But there you go.
Love it.
I just felt $45 fly out of my wallet again, or $50 or whatever they are. Remind me how much they are. By the way, more news from merch. We are going to have a restock of the pink jersey and the blackout jersey. I need a blackout jersey, so now that's more money that just flew out of my wallet. We have the kids size long sleeve camos now. They will be available on Saturday. And lightsabers for the first 1,500. We already mentioned that. We will also have the Cinco de Mayo jersey. And I think I've got that one too, but I got to stop sharing my screen so you don't see all of the inner workings of things behind the scenes here. I think I have that one as well. Maybe. Some of you have already seen this.
Yes.
Go ahead, Leo.
This is one of my, now the Chewbacca one as well, but the Cinco de Mayo jersey is one of my favorite designs of all time that Jordan has done. And I'm definitely going to be walking out of the next game having spent a lot of money on 2 jerseys. Jordan, yeah, I may need a spot on your couch sometime. She's going to be upset with me.
The Cinco de Mayo
love it
Fiesta jersey.
I love it.
They're available for you, San Antonio Gunslingers. Pistolas arriba. I love it.
I love it.
Jay Washington, that's the same thing. Fiesta jersey, Cinco de Mayo jersey. That's what these are. These are that theme.
Or the Fiesta jersey, yeah. Pistolas arriba on the back. That means guns up in Spanish.
Guns up, people.
Jessica Palmer was able to get one from the Gunslingers before heading up to Frisco. So she had that jersey on at the game.
Nice.
And it's amazing.
Yeah. Jay Washington says, rip to Leo for having to buy 4 jerseys. I know I've got to buy 2 because I'm going to need that Chewbacca jersey. And I'm going to need a blackout jersey because I haven't gotten one yet. What do you got, Artsy?
Well, I was just going to say, it's kind of bringing in Fiesta. I was in the King William's Fiesta parade on Saturday morning with Desiree Rodriguez, and we were able to pass out flyer Gunslingers and Rudy coupons. And so many people were there, especially the police officers. Oh my gosh, there were so many that were so interested in going to the game. And so we passed out at least 100 of those. People were so excited. So I'm hoping, I'm doing everything I can to get people. Even today, I talked to about at least 30 teachers about, hey, you need to come. You need to come. You're not doing anything on Saturday. So get the word out. And every day on Facebook, I've been challenging at least 10 of my family and friends to come to a game. I've already said it. If you don't have a good time with the entertainment, with the players, with the cheerleaders, with the merchandise, I will buy you a drink. I might say what kind of drink, but I will buy you a drink. And so guaranteed you are going to have a blast. Guaranteed you're going to fall in love with the Gunslingers.
Yeah, I think that's a great challenge that you put out there, RC, because especially for this next game, because we need to be loud and hostile, not hostile in an ugly way, but hostile against the visiting team. They need to know that they're not at home and they're we need to make things as difficult for them on the field as possible. Loli's issued a challenge as well. I don't know if you guys saw that on her Facebook.
I did. I wasn't actually going to bring this up on the show because she might end up cooking a whole lot of food, but you go ahead, brother.
Well, she issued this challenge without consulting with me first, of course. I could never do that. That would be a big mistake on my part, but it's fine that she did that. But you know what? I say you're wrong, Philip, because isn't the challenge if they go and they don't have the time of their life, they don't really enjoy it, then they in compensation they will have dinner.
Is that the deal?
At my house?
Yeah.
So I don't expect to see anybody at my house having dinner because they're gonna have the time of their lives at the game.
Since I'm sharing stuff off my computer anyway, somebody's a month old today. Way to go, Caleb. You made it a whole month.
That's awesome.
Just got this picture while I was sitting here doing the show, and I thought, I'm already sharing pictures. Let me share one more because that's what grandpas do.
Adorable. That's who you woke up by yelling? That gorgeous face?
Yeah. He loves football. He's a big fan. Jay Washington is going to game the system. He's like, well, I guess I won't like the game so that I can go get some food,
homemade dinner,
and drink.
Get fed.
It's too late. We already know you have a great time. We see the cowbell you bring in. No.
So we've got a hard out in about 3 minutes because we're going to be dropping off the Fuel Network, and Bottom Line is going to be coming on. We appreciate you guys on Fuel Network. If you want to stick with us, make sure you swing over to our Facebook channel or our YouTube channel, and we'll keep rolling with some Brahmas talk here in the second hour. As far as the Gunslingers go, get to the Freeman Coliseum, get your friends to Freeman Coliseum, get everybody there. Saturday night, it's Star Wars night. There's no excuses. If I can drive 3 hours up for the game, take in the game and drive 3 hours back home because I got something to do early on early on Sunday morning because that's my job, then you can do it. So there's no excuses aside from being in Wisconsin. That's an excuse. Yeah. That's an excuse. I'll for your son's graduation. Like that makes sense. Everybody else,
better be there.
We are not providing excused absences for this one. You get no note for the office on this one. You got to be there because they need us. They're going to need us. Frisco's going to come in hot. They're a good football team, and they're not happy that they took their first loss. Let's give them two.
That would be great.
Let's double up on them and give them another one because they're coming back. They're coming back later in the summer, back to Freeman Coliseum. Let's make them dread coming back here. Let's make them look on their schedule and be like, I don't want to go back there again. Are you kidding? We got to go back? Yeah, you do. You got to go back. So we are going to head out on the Fuel Network. We are going to take another quick break. When we come back, it's all about the Brahmas. The Brahmas were able to hold on to a 25-15, a little more substantial win, but no less scary, no less concerning there at the end of the game. And we'll talk about that when we come back. If you are joining us on the Fuel Network and you want to stay with us for Brahmas Talk, head over to Facebook or YouTube, Smokin Gunz Pod. It's down there in the corner, down here in that corner down there. Smokin Gunz Pod. Smokin OG, Guns with a Z, P-O-D. And we will be with you. We'll be right back. Stick with us, Smokin Gunz Podcast. Hang in there. Smokin Gunz Podcast, Philippine mouth of Leo Yamas, RC Woods. Hey, you changed where you were. You were with like Gunslingers, and now you're with the Brahmas, and that's amazing.
I know. It's incredible.
The Brahmas went into Arlington and not surprisingly got the win. What was a little surprising might be how they got the win, Leo, although I don't think anybody should have expected this to be a game where Arlington was just going to roll over. They're getting desperate at this point.
Scary desperate.
Yeah, I agree. It was a win, but in the manner that they won, if you're a Brahmas fan, was a bit concerning, a bit worrying, I think. The run game was strong. They leaned on that for most of the game. And we've seen a lot of that up to this point. What we're not used to seeing is the pass game be so ineffective. It had its moments, but I mean, I think it was 4 interceptions in the game.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of interceptions. One of them went off Landon Akers' hands. You could say, well, it wasn't completely his fault, but still, not a great game from Quentin Dormady. It was 3 interceptions. I'm giving him more. I'm giving him 1 more than he got. But still,
4 or something. There was something because I saw it on the.
Yeah, it was not pretty offensively, and there was a lull in the middle of the game where they let the Renegades get back into it. Where
they did,
I was worried.
They did. That first quarter was about as good a football on both sides of the ball as you can play. And then, they just kind of, I don't know, took their foot off the gas, or it felt like we weren't taking this seriously anymore. And, Arlington kind of came back. Now, that happens to everybody. The same thing happened to St. Louis on Sunday. They were beating DC all over the field in the first quarter, and then DC comes roaring back and gets close in the second quarter, only to have St. Louis blow them away in the second half. So it happens. I just don't want it to happen to the Brahmas.
Not to us.
And you're right. Quentin Dormady, 3 interceptions. One of those is off the hands. I really feel like we should take stats differently for quarterbacks. There are some interceptions that quarterbacks are not responsible for. And I think that particular interception that you're talking about is not Quentin Dormady's fault. He delivered it right where it needed to be. It goes off the receiver's hands. What?
It was a little high. A lot of the ball placement was high or behind, or sometimes both, which is what was concerning to me. It wasn't so much the 3 interceptions. If you want to take away the Landon Akers one that went off his hands, because yes, I've heard the saying, and I don't disagree with it. If you can get your hands on it, you need to catch it, and he didn't. It deflected up high.
This is your target.
Yeah.
And if you are a professional receiver and it lands anywhere in this target, you should have caught it. That's on you.
And I don't disagree, but just Quentin Dormady was off. His ball placement, there were a lot of balls that were behind his target. You had receivers reaching back behind him, some that were sailing high. It wasn't sharp like he was in his first game as a starter. It was way different, and a lot of pressure on the guy having to follow up the performance of Chase Garbers, as good as he was when he was playing before he got hurt. When Quentin Dormady came in last week, his first game starting, you're like, okay, there was a little bit of a drop off, but nothing noticeable, nothing that you need to be concerned about. But if he had played this game or last game the way he played this game, I think a lot of people would be worried, because there was a drop off, and it wasn't what we're used to seeing. Not to say Quentin Dormady isn't capable of playing better. He proved last week that he is, but he was definitely off. This was not a good game for him.
Now, I will say, for all of the woes in the passing game, the rushing game was good. Really good.
John Lovett.
to the point where I turned to my father. My parents were in town this weekend. And I turned to my father and I go, we shouldn't throw the ball again the rest of this game. And
It was
about
working.
that time, the announcers came on and said they're getting 8 yards per rush. If you're getting 8 yards per rush, do not throw the ball. There's no point. If you're getting an average of 8 yards per rush, you don't need to throw the ball.
Especially if you have a lead,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You eat clock. Eat yards on offense. Keep taking up yards. John Lovett, Morgan Ellison was fantastic. He didn't have touchdowns like John Lovett did, but I mean, he averaged 12 yards a carry. Morgan Ellison did. John Lovett averaged a little over 7 yards a carry with 13 attempts, and then he had the 2 touchdowns. He was running hard on those touchdowns, by the way. Those touchdown runs. Very, very impressive. I got a question, though. What happened to Anthony McFarland Jr.?
I don't know.
He was such a huge not that I mind seeing Morgan Ellison, especially the way he played this game, but Anthony McFarland Jr. was a huge part of the Brahmas offense the first 3 games, and all of a sudden, nothing.
And it feels like Ellison is McFarland's replacement because we signed him and brought him in, and then from that point, we haven't seen Anthony McFarland, and now we have Morgan Ellison in there producing. I don't know. Maybe they don't have enough roster spots for all 3 of them. I feel like because then you also have Stevenson in there. You've got guys that you want to be a part of things, but it just feels like he was a big part of what we were doing, McFarland, and then he just disappeared.
Yeah, according to the roster online, he's still got a spot on the team. I don't know if he's hurt. I mean, the UFL isn't very forthcoming with player information, so we really don't have any idea. But it's just kind of strange to see a guy be such a big part of an offense for 3 consecutive games, and then all of a sudden he's just not a part of the offense anymore. Like nothing.
Right.
Mac is stepping up. He had some good plays this game too. 88.
Yes, the tight end. He had a touchdown, and he's always been a good receiving threat. He's just been a little in the shadow of Cody Latimer, right? Starting this season. But Elise Mack is definitely a threat at the tight end position. Hi, Lilies. Don't worry, I wasn't talking about you earlier. I promise.
And no need to get the cooking now. We're not going to cook at all. I guarantee you. Everyone's going to have a great time.
But in the long run, they went up against Arlington, and this game was never in doubt. There were times I would have liked to have seen us perform better, but at no point was I worried that we were losing control of the game. It felt like kind of a wire-to-wire victory. It felt good.
It did.
And part of me wants to feel bad for Arlington a little bit because they don't have an answer. Like they don't. Are they going to win a game? I mean, they got to win a game this season. They're too good a football team to go through without winning a game. But I don't know where it's going to come from because they just don't. They're doing everything they feel like they should be doing. They're doing everything I would expect them to do, and it's just not gelling. It's not coming together. It's
not.
The fans,
bad.
The crowd were frustrated. They were frustrated with the game. They were booing. They were yelling at Stoops. I sat on the home side this game. Lolis and I did, and unlike the Frisco game, they were either friendly or just non-engaging. Like it's like we weren't even there. But hearing, their reactions to what was happening on the field around me, they're frustrated. And they were yelling at Coach Stoops about their frustration.
I bet. Well, I know that Jerry and I, we were watching the game here at home, and I kept telling Jerry, Leo really likes the quarterback, Luis Perez. Yes, Rebecca, I know. And then I'd say, he always knows all his stats. Yes, Rebecca, I know. So I just always get that connection with Luis Perez, Leo, and back in the Commander days, and then he was doing that thing where he was switching out the quarterbacks. That always confuses me.
Yeah, they bring in the other guy in certain packages more as a running quarterback, running threat. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if Lindsey Scott is in there, they're running the ball. Like they're
Yeah.
going to use him in some sort of option way and run the ball, and that's not even a secret. It's very similar to what Houston was doing last year with Wade and AJ when they would bring in, what was his name? Cole McDonald? Is that his name?
Sure.
Same kind of situation where they would have, I think it was Silvers, and then they would pull Silvers and put in McDonald, and you almost guarantee it was a running play with an option of some sort.
Predictable when they switch the quarterbacks.
Well, it didn't work against the Brahmas. They blew up the play when they brought him in to run. He lost several yards on one of the two plays he was in there.
I don't know. Arlington, I mentioned, are they going to win a game? Jay Washington doesn't think they will. He said the Roughnecks beat them. I don't know if they can win a game because the Roughnecks are not very good either, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel bad more for the Rednecks than the Renegade. One, because I do a podcast with Amber, and she's one of the Predator couples. But they tried so hard to keep the Roughnecks in this league, and it doesn't seem like their efforts are, they're not showing the same effort there on the field.
A good friend of ours, friend of the show, I don't know if he's watching now or he'll watch later, Los Mysterio, is a big Roughnecks fan. He is sure that with the attendance being so bad and the team being so bad, that Houston will lose the Roughnecks this year. I've given up on using logic when it comes to spring football and what teams will be where. You can't really use logic on it, but I will tell you logically, the smartest thing the UFL could do is leave everything alone for about 2 more seasons and just stay consistent. These are the 8 teams. This is the schedule we're going to have. We're going to start in, early April or the end of March. And that's going to be our schedule, and leave everything like they did it this year for about 2 more years before they expand or contract teams or move teams or change the schedule. Just leave it alone for about 3 seasons and let everybody get used to it. Stop messing with it, man.
Because they need continuity, and then to do that, if people are talking about expansion real soon, to do that, they have to do what they just did when they did the merger. Well, they need to have like a supplementary draft. They're going to blow up rosters so that they can evenly distribute some of the talent to some of the incoming franchises, and that's not good for anybody. That depletes what the work that all teams have done. The coaching staff, Mo mentioned it earlier in her comment, talking about the Arlington Renegades, about how much their organization, as far as their player pool was shaken up, and they need some time to gel. I mean, you're basically taking the entire league back to step one when you do that, and that's really the only way they can do that at this point. So I agree. They need more continuity. They have to leave things alone for at least a couple of seasons.
Now, because you have so many players get signed to practice squad deals or camp deals with the NFL, I think what they're going to have to do is, once all of those numbers shake themselves out, some teams will be more depleted than others. They need to give them X amount of protected people so you can protect Chase Garbers. You can protect Cody Latimer or Kirkland. You can protect those guys you really want to keep. Everybody else gets dumped into a pool and they redistribute that talent, but give them, a certain number of protected people that you can list and protect those largely talented people that did not wind up in the NFL for whatever reason. And that way your fans have some handles to hold on to, and you're able to see some growth year over year in the same players in the same system. But you can't just leave everything alone, because at the end of the year, the NFL is not going to go grab anybody off of Memphis, because Memphis is awful. But they may grab everybody off of Birmingham, and then Birmingham would have to replace their whole team with new players. So you're going to have to do some sort of balancing act where you balance talent, but you got to give those protected picks or those protected people on the roster, I think, to make things fan friendly. It's not for any other reason than to give the fans a handle and like, John Trey Kirkland, I know him. He was on our team last year, and I'm excited about seeing what he does this year, or whatever the case may be.
So in the conference, we're number 2, but within the league, we're in 3rd place. Is that accurate?
Yeah, but that the league doesn't matter. Like, that's not important at all. And we're going to talk a little bit more. Yeah, league standings really just don't matter. The championship game is going to be at a neutral site. It's going to be in St. Louis, so nothing gets decided by who's the best in that game. And so Birmingham means nothing to us other than we have a game against them late in May. We don't need to worry about Birmingham, and they're tearing up the USFL conference. Great. Do that. Tear up that conference. I don't care.
Tear it up.
Doesn't affect us at all. Beat everybody you come across except the Brahmas. I don't care. We would have to play you in the championship game, and then I would care. But that's the only game I care about. We learned last year that team that goes 9-1 through the season is not guaranteed anything when it comes to the championship game in a neutral site.
That was crazy last year.
Means nothing. Means absolutely nothing. So I do think they need to leave it alone. I don't think the Houston Roughnecks are going to go anywhere in the season, and I don't think they're going to go anywhere after the season. It just is what it is. Things are beginning to shake out. You can tell who the good teams are, who the teams that should be playing for the playoffs, and I want to talk about that a little bit here in a few minutes when we get into our next segment, because things are already starting to solidify, especially for the Brahmas. But in this particular game, I just want to see the Brahmas with a little more killer instinct. And I brought this up earlier, and now we've just got a couple of minutes to it, but you're rushing for 8 yards per carry. 7.9 is what you finished at. But at the time, you were at 8 yards per carry. You had a 10-point lead, you had a significant lead. Why are we throwing the ball? Why are we throwing the ball?
No,
I mean,
there's no answer. There's no good answer to that.
I get that passing is an important part of the game, and you want to keep the defense honest. You were talking about that with the Gunslingers earlier, Leo, but I don't understand why Quentin Dormady was even put in the position to get his 3rd interception and give Arlington the possibility of getting back. When they get that 3rd interception, there is every possibility that they move the ball down the field and either kick a field goal or get the touchdown, do the 4th and 12 and retain possession and have a chance to win that game, because we're throwing the ball in the 4th quarter with the lead.
The Brahmas and Brahma fans are very lucky that the Brahmas defense is so solid.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely
the offense, as you say, gave Arlington every opportunity to get back into this game when it looked early on like they were completely outclassed and were not even going to have a chance. But the defense was solid and came through in some big moments. They had one breakdown on a long pass that ended up in a score. And outside of that, they really shut down Arlington. So they're lucky, that defense was as solid and as strong as they are, because the offense was like I said, they were giving Arlington opportunities to say, go ahead and give a shot to make this a game.
And look,
when it shouldn't have been.
If you're only getting 2.5 yards per carry, or just barely 3 yards per carry, then you can make a case to me. You can come back and go, well, we had to throw the ball a couple of times. because we had to loosen the defense up on us. Plus, we're not going to just get a first down by carrying the ball necessarily. But if you're getting 8 yards per carry, in 3 carries, you're going to get a first down. There is no reason. I mean, it's 1950s football when you're getting 8 yards per carry. The only 2 plays in your whole playbook when you're getting 8 yards per carry is handoff right, handoff left. That's it. Those are the only plays you should be running out of your playbook when you're getting 8 yards per carry. That's crazy that we threw the ball, and they almost made us pay. And
yeah,
you can blame Quentin Dormady. He threw the interception, and it was a bad ball. He should not have thrown it where he threw it, and it got picked off. But he never should have been in that situation. Like, they shouldn't have put him in the situation to throw that interception. That was a bad move. That was a bad coaching decision all the way around. I don't understand it. I don't.
Especially when he was struggling, and that's my concern. That's my concern, because that's the only reason I can think of, Philip, to continue putting the ball in his hands and letting him is to maybe he's been struggling in practice. Maybe he's been, just not right. And maybe they're trying to get him in a rhythm. They're trying to get him, more familiar with his receivers in a game situation rather than at practice. Just get a rhythm going, get his confidence going. But it wasn't working.
Maybe, but boy, that can cut both ways.
Not the cost of losing the game. That's not the right time to do that.
Well, not only that, RC, but it cuts both ways because, you're trying to build his confidence up with some easy throws and get him, moving down the field. But if he throws an interception and that's his last play on the game, that's what he gets to deal with for the rest of the week. Is I almost gave that game away,
and that's what I'm thinking.
That could shake his confidence for DC. Like, he could come out worse for DC because they threw the ball at the end of the Arlington game.
And that's what I'm thinking. Like, if that's the situation, if that's the case, then they're probably thinking, if we're going to do it against any team, it's going to be Arlington, that we can do this and get away with it because we can rely on our defense to keep Arlington out of the end zone and still win the game, which is what happened. But still, yeah, I agree with you 100%. They should have been running the ball. They were running so effectively. There wasn't any reason to be passing as often as they were. I understand mixing up a bit, keeping the defense honest, like we talked about earlier with the Gunslingers in Frisco, but they were passing way more often than they should have been.
Certainly there at the end of the game, yes.
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if
all right, we're going to take another
at our house. Jerry would have woke up the baby because he was screaming at the top of his lungs. He was so mad at that play. He scared me. I was like, oh my God. So if we had a baby, that baby would have been woken up. So
well, we will take another quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the future for the Brahmas because we are halfway through the season. And so let's take our temperature and see where we're at and see what it's going to take to lock in the playoffs. I got a secret for you. It's easier than you think. Stick with us. Smokin Gunz Podcast. We're going to be right back. Smokin Gunz Podcast. Philip Higginbotham, Leo Yamas, RC Woods. We are halfway through the UFL season, and we are sitting at 4-1. Boy, will I take this over last year's XFL season. This feels better. I like where we are.
Much better.
We get to go to DC next week. Sunday afternoon game, 3 p.m. Central Time. It's on Fox, which I just like Fox's presentation way better than ESPN. I like how easy it is to find the game on ESPN. But boy, do I love the way Fox puts the game on. But that will be on Sunday. And Leo, believe it or not, we win that game. And while nothing is mathematically secured, I am willing to say that if we win that game, we will definitely be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I would agree with you. This is a pivotal game. This is a very, very important game because Defenders, being in the same conference as the Brahmas and St. Louis, the class of that conference. DC Defenders are right behind us though, at 2-3. If we can win this game at their home, at their field, and drop them to 2-4. We go to 5-1. Doesn't matter what happens with St. Louis. You know, they may win, but at 5-1 with a couple game separation from the only other team threatening to take that second spot away from us, DC, because Arlington at 0-5. I mean, realistically, that's not going to happen.
They're out. They're done.
Yeah, and then also you have the tiebreaker if DC goes on a tear and you end up with the same record, having beaten them twice.
Right.
I assume that that gives you the advantage.
So while I say mathematically it doesn't necessarily secure anything, what it does do is, you're right, it gives us the tiebreaker over DC, and it means that we have to get one of the next 4 games to secure a playoff spot. And 2 of those games, one is in Houston and one is in San Antonio against Arlington. You have to win one more game to secure a playoff spot, and those are your next 2 games after DC, is at Houston and then home versus the Renegades. I think you win both of those games right now, the way that all of those teams are playing.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we win at DC and then we win the next 2 games, we're in the playoffs. And that's a great spot to be in, because our last 2 games are going to kind of be a gauntlet. We play Birmingham here, and then we go to St. Louis in a game that I think is going to be for the XFL conference. I think mathematically it's going to work out where that game is going to decide where those 2 teams play the next week.
I agree.
For sure.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, winning this game basically puts the Brahmas' fate in their own hands. It doesn't matter what anybody else does. If they take care of business over the last few games, they're in the playoffs. If they lose to DC, then DC still has a chance to take care of it. And no matter what we do, they can take care of things on their side and push us out. So it's a key game.
It leaves the door open just enough. If DC ends up somehow winning this game, it leaves the door open just enough that it makes me nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Philip,
by winning this game,
Leo was going. I thought you were going to say Leo's going to the game in Washington. No more games in the forecast. I'm thinking about going to the Houston game, to be honest.
I want to go, but it's Mother's Day, and it's my daughter's first Mother's Day, and it's my wife's Mother's Day. I don't think I can make that happen. I'd love to go. Just a trick of the schedule that won't allow me to go and be there. I'll have to watch that one, I think, on TV. But it's an hour and a half up the road from me. I would love to go.
What time is that game at?
2:00 Central.
So you're out by 5:30, and then you go to a Mother's Day dinner in Houston. If you bring her along, nice dinner in Houston. Could make it work, maybe.
Are you going, Leo?
The Houston game, I plan to. I hope to. Yes.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm. If things align correctly, that would be one away game that I would like to attend.
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this game we got coming up. We got DC. We're going to DC. They're in trouble. DC is in trouble. I watched the game yesterday, and while they gave a little bit of a fight right in the second quarter, past that in the first quarter, third and fourth quarter, they did not just look bad. St. Louis didn't look as good as DC looked bad. You look at the final score and you go, St. Louis is really, really, really good. No, they're not. They're as good as the Brahmas. Like, I think they're on the same level. I've said that for a few weeks now.
True.
But that game was not about St. Louis beating DC. That game was about DC just not looking like the defenders of last year, which makes sense. They're not the defenders of last year.
No, but still, that makes me feel better, Philip, because I didn't get to watch the game. We were driving back from the Dallas area at the time, so I did not get to watch that game. I did see the score. There you go. You got
James one mother. Says, my wife just said, "Go, Philip." Diana, you don't understand. Jessica Palmer said I could go. I
There
don't
you go.
know how.
And
that
she's a
works.
mom. She's a mom. So, but yeah, I was curious whether that game, looking at that score, was it like 45-12, I believe.
Yeah.
Was that the Battlehawks were that good, or that DC was that bad? Because I was a little worried about that.
I think DC. I think Reggie Barlow is now showing a little bit of what we saw last year from the first year coaches, and we made a big deal about. Well, Reggie Barlow is doing a great job. I think right now he's lost. He has no idea what he can do to fix it. He pulled Jordan Teamu in the game and put in what's the dude's name from Notre Dame. I'll get it right about the time you find it, Leo. Leo's looking for it right now.
There he is. And the race is on. Who's better, memory or
Francois, yes.
Francois. Yeah, he pulled Teamu, put in Francois, and I saw that as a desperation. Like I need to change something because this is all slipping away from me. Maybe a change at quarterback will get me a spark, and it did not happen. I could be wrong. There could be some sort of injury that we didn't hear about, or maybe I just missed on the broadcast. But I really saw it as Reggie Barlow going, I've got no answers, and maybe I'll do this, and this will be the magic bullet, and it just wasn't.
Well, I mean, it was 280 total yards, 263. So it was definitely one-sided there.
Different.
Like I said, I did not get to see the game, but I was very concerned because you mentioned the moment ago, Philip. You see the Battlehawks and the Brahmas as being very even right there.
Yeah.
In the standings, definitely, and the way things look on paper, I would agree. And a couple of games ago, I would have agreed with that. But until I see more from Quentin Dormady, I'll take AJ McCarron over Quentin Dormady from what I've seen of him. Chase Garbers, the way he was playing, then yeah, they're even, if not giving the Brahmas a slight edge. Because they did not play that well that game when they played the Battlehawks, and Chase Garbers was playing hurt for the fourth quarter, and we didn't know that at the time. So I'm a little bit nervous until I see more from Quentin Dormady on putting them at the same level. Right now, I think the Battlehawks are definitely the class of the XFL conference.
No, you're not. So you're not wrong. I think they have the check mark. Remember Madden when it would show you the two teams as they were going into a game, and like this one had the better quarterback, and this one has the better running back, and this one, the check marks, and you see who has the overall best. I think you're right. I think I would take AJ McCarron right now over the way Quentin Dormady is playing. Yes, but I think we have other check marks that they don't have.
We do.
And so I think ultimately when you add it all up, when that algorithm adds it all up and gives you the overall, I think you're looking at 2 86s or maybe an 86 and 87. I think they're right there on the same level, even with Quentin Dormady, because I don't think they have the defense we have. I don't think they have the running game that we have.
I agree with that.
So some of those things are mitigated by, yes, the quarterback in the most important position on the field. They have the advantage there, but we have other advantages that they don't have. And so I really think once you add all of it up, they're pretty even. I wish we had Chase Garbers. We don't. We can wish in one hand and spit in the other and see which one fills up first.
I just feel the more I talk about Chase Garbers each week, the better chance it is that it'll all not be true and Chase Garbers' injury will go away magically.
I was really bummed that he was out for the season, knowing that it was on his non-throwing hand. I was just wondering, like, can we just tuck him away on some sort of IR for a couple of weeks and maybe he gets back out there? I guess you don't want to take a chance with a guy right at the beginning of his career. Just set him and let him get well and maybe bring him back next year if you have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Quentin Dormady, I got to believe he'll get it figured out.
I hope so. I'm not trying to dog him. I'm just saying I need to see more from him.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I have not been blown away
Mm-mm.
by anything yet. No.
I do want to say I want to send prayers out to the two of the players that were injured in 2 different games. We never like to see injuries, so prayers that for a quick recovery, because we know how injuries can really affect the team. We're victims of that, losing 2 players in the last couple of weeks. So prayers out to them for them to heal quickly.
That was a scary moment. The Arlington Renegade having to be carted off the field.
Yeah, you never like to see that. You just you don't like to see it. I mean, you may say, hey, the St. Louis Battlehawks absolutely they dominated the Defenders last week. They did, but we dominated the Defenders in week 1. Like everybody was healthy, and we were never out of control of that game. We didn't win by as many as they won by, but we won 27-12, and we were in control of that game from the jump. So really, even when you look at they beat Memphis really bad. We gave Memphis 3/4 of a head start and still beat them. All of these things seem to work out. The game against St. Louis was a lot closer than I think the 31-24 score would say. I really think these two teams are even, and I think whoever wins the XFL, St. Louis or San Antonio, it looks like it's going to be those two teams playing for the XFL conference. Whoever wins it is going to surprise Birmingham. I think Birmingham is a DC Defenders of last year, where they are running through everybody like a buzzsaw in the regular season. But once we get to the postseason, anybody can win. Anything can happen, and I don't give Birmingham any better a shot than anybody else right now.
They haven't played San Antonio or St. Louis yet.
Right.
Yep.
Right. When do they play St. Louis? Because I know it's on their schedule.
You read my mind, because I was thinking the same thing and wondering that same question.
Week 7.
We got some fact checkers sticking on it.
Week 7. So not this week. This week they play Houston. So they have a bye week this week. St. Louis. St. Louis has a bye week this week playing Houston. Pro Arena Talk says Birmingham feels fraudulent. I don't know that I would go that far to call them frauds.
Okay.
It just, I don't buy them as heavy as everyone else did. Very much like we talked about in the IFL with Frisco last week of, I don't know that they can, they're undefeated, but that doesn't mean that they're unbeatable. And I don't think Birmingham is unbeatable. I think that they can be beaten. And you're right, they do have the worst part of their schedule coming up, because they've got to play St. Louis first, and St. Louis can soften them up for the week 8 matchup here in San Antonio against the Brahmas. I'll take that.
Yep.
Sounds good to me. But the playoffs, if we can beat DC this week, and I fully expect us to beat DC, then I think that the playoffs are all but guaranteed. They're not guaranteed, because we could lose 4 straight, and DC could win 4 straight, and then you have to start doing a lot of math and figuring out who has tiebreakers and all that kind of stuff.
And we're not good at math.
The road to the playoffs is a lot easier. It's a lot wider. You have nice big lanes, nicely freshly paved roads. Yes. It's one of those toll roads that they have all over Dallas, so there's not a lot of traffic. You've paid the price to be on there, to have the right to be on, and then just cruise. That's the road to the playoffs if we get this win this week against DC.
Yeah.
If we don't, then not so much.
There'll be some construction on the road.
I will caution, though, because Philip, you said the same thing last week, and I still feel the same. The fact that we beat Arlington doesn't change my mind. You were very comfortable going into Arlington last week. We talked about it on the show, and I think we talked about it privately. And you said, "Nah, they'll win this easily." And I said, "I hate going in to another team's stadium."
Yes.
When they are due for a win or when they've lost really badly the week before. I always hate that because you never know. You never know what that team is capable of, how angry they are, or how motivated they are. Football players are very, very tough guys and they're very prideful. So it's just a dangerous situation to be in. And when San Antonio started letting Arlington come back and they tied the game and then they got the ball where they could actually take the lead in that game, I'm sitting there going, dang it, Philip, I told you not. This was a trap.
This is your fault.
Thankfully.
Speaking of stuff that people cause, can we just go take down the guy in the broadcast booth that decided to mention just before he lines up for a kick that our kicker had been perfect all season long?
Oh, I didn't catch that because I was at the stadium, but I was blaming it on myself because earlier in the game when he made one, I was like, yeah, he's perfect for the year. And Lolies was like, he hasn't missed, right? And I'm like, yeah. And then he missed on his next kick. And I was like, dang it.
The announcer, the color guy, I believe, I don't remember who the broadcast crew goes. One of them said, he has been perfect all season long. And the other one said, oh, no, you just jinxed him. And he goes, that's not a real thing. And sure enough, I mean, it wasn't like he missed it. It wasn't even, I don't even think it hit the net.
I think he slipped or something.
Way off. Yeah. Might be a contender for my bull spit. That announcer. Speaking of which, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're coming back with our favorite segment of the night. It's Bull Spit and Bullseye. What is your favorite moment in San Antonio professional football this weekend? Your bullseye. And what is the thing that you don't want to see anymore? You don't ever want to see that again. That'll be your bull spit for the week. We're going to take one more break, and when we come back, Bull Spit or Bullseye, Smokin Gunz Podcast. Hang with us. We'll be right back. Smokin Gunz Podcast, Filipino Gotham, Leo Yamas, and all of RC Woods. She got real close there to the camera.
I did.
Watching.
I'm like, my back is hurting.
When I came back. So 2-0, 2 weeks in a row. What do you say we do it third time's a charm, right? Let's do it 3 times in a row.
We need to.
2-0. We got to beat Frisco on Saturday night. Sunday, we got to go into DC with the Brahmas and beat the Defenders. I think both of those are entirely possible. Obviously, we can beat Frisco. We know that's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see DC, barring something really strange happening, I don't see DC being able to beat this team. There's always the possibility that Quentin Dornby goes out there and throws 4 interceptions, and I'm wrong. That could happen. That could absolutely happen to us. But now it's time for our favorite part of the week, Bull Spit and Bullseye. We will start with, who do we say? We started with RC last week. We'll start with Leo this week. Leo, what's your Bull Spit and Bullseye for week 5 of the collective San Antonio football schedule here?
All right, well, I'll start with the Bull Spit, and it's 2 things. I'm going to cheat just like I did last week. And I'm going to say 2 things. Bull Spit. One was the lack of respect that we got in Frisco from the player before the game, from the fans about being obnoxious, making too much noise. You know, that whole thing, you can't ring your cowbells. That whole experience there, come on, man. It's football. We're fans. We're having fun. Just because we're in your home stadium and that's not how you do things, don't tell us that that's the way we should do it too. And don't tell us that we're wasting our money by being there. For sure. So that's the biggest thing. And then I got to bring up the second thing because of my little title right here, Leo, getting too old for this spit.
Too old for this spit.
That's my body. After that weekend of 2 football games, the drive up to the Dallas area on Friday, game Friday night, a game Saturday night, drive back down on Sunday, and having to go to work this morning. Oh man, am I feeling it? And that's why I like in the phrase. Is it Hightower? Is that the character's name in Lethal Weapon? Man, I'm getting too old for this. Murtaugh. I'm getting too old for this spit. That's how I felt. Just we had a great time. We had a lot of fun, but man, I feel like I don't want to do that again anytime soon. As fun as it was.
One of the greatest callbacks to 2 actors recognizing each other in a movie that is not the movie they are known for each other in happens in the movie Maverick. It is a comedy, a Western comedy with Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster and James Garner in it. But there is a point where Mel Gibson is in a bank and these guys come in with masks on robbing the bank. And Mel Gibson reaches up and tugs down on the mask of one of the guys, and it is Danny Glover. And they look at each other like, I know you from somewhere. And then they detonate a bomb or something, dynamite to blow the safe or whatever. And Danny Glover's character rolls out of the thing and he says, I'm getting too old for this spit. It is a great moment. Yeah, Maverick. Great movie, by the way. If you've never seen Maverick, go see Maverick. It's fun. It's not going to win any awards or anything, but it's a really fun movie. But there's a great moment where they recognize each other. And of course, if you didn't know, Mel Gibson and Danny Glover are linked forever through the Lethal Weapon movies. Just the best of both of their careers right there together. They made each other really good in those movies. RC, your bullspit and bullseye for the week.
Okay, it kind of goes with Leo's lack of respect. However, it's not for a team, it's not for fans, and it's not for players. It's for the Brahmas ticket sales, whoever you want to call it. They sent out an email on Wednesday stating, oh, we're going to have a watch party for the draft. But is there a watch party for the game? No. And you're going to give me 1 day notice? To me, that's disrespectful. So you're going to promote the NFL draft, but you're not going to take the time to organize a watch party for the fans here in San Antonio. That really, to me, is very disrespectful. Now, on the flip coin of that, which is my bullseye, is going to go out to all the Brahmas super fans who got together. We're talking about Steve-O. We're talking about Desiree. We're talking about a lot of those super fans who got together and organized not 1, but 2 different watch parties. One at a Bolero Bowling, so it could be child friendly, and the second one at a bar where it's 21 and up. But does anyone from the ticket sales do that?
It was at Fiasco.
Yes, Fiasco. And so that's where my bullseye is. We have some super fans who respect the game, respect the fans, and go out of their way not only to have 1, but 2 watch parties for the family friendly and for the over 21, but yet no one from the Brahmas can do that. So that's it. Again, disrespect. And then total respect for the super fans, Desiree, Steve-O, all of them who organized the watch party for the Brahmas here in San Antonio. So that's all I got to say.
And Leo, I'm sorry, I jumped the gun. See what I did there? Jumped the gun and didn't let you get in your bullseye. Jump the gun, see, because it's a euphemism. It's a colloquialism for doing things too quickly, but it's gun and bullseye. You see what I did there? Did everybody catch that?
We do.
Very clever. Very clever.
Leo,
Very
what was your bullseye for the weekend?
You must be a grandpa.
I gotta say, my bullseye is related to the first bull spit in having that player from the Frisco Fighters talking smack. You wasted your money. Don't know why you're here. You're gonna get blown out. And then the biggest thing, I was like, we got a guy named Sam Castronova. He's only the best quarterback in the IFL, and have him laugh. And he's making it even better. He's a defensive back, so he's the one getting burned by Mr. Sam Castronova, IFL frontrunner for MVP without a doubt, shoving it down his throat with
violent on this show.
8 tutties, 8 TDs in a 54-52 win to knock them off of their pedestal. Take that, Frisco.
Right?
Yeah.
Boom.
That's my bullseye. Boom.
That's your bullseye. We've got some coming in from fans. James Palmer says, bull spit, no cowbells in Frisco. The bullseye is getting all those W's. Each team lining them up. WW. You need one more for a full website there. WWW.
That's right.
We're almost there. Jay Washington says his bull's eye. Brahmas resiliency. Gunslingers defense stepping up in clutch moments. Gunslingers allowing us to bring in the cowbells on Saturday night. The 2-1-0 is 2-0. His bull spit. Brahmas allowing the Renegades to come back. Gunslingers penalties and those PAT blocks. And he said another bullseye, Sam, for MVP. I agree. Sam has put together a great case for MVP. Mo Ferrante, bull spit. Don't doubt our Gunslingers. I said it during the branded podcast. Our Gunslingers were better, and they handed Frisco their first loss. Bull's eye. Love our Gunslingers, and Brahmas going all out every weekend. Absolutely. So that brings it all down to me. My bull spit and bullseye are both interceptions. My bullseye, Svante Davenport, locking that game down in the clutch when he needed to with the interception to secure the win over the undefeated. That's air quotes for those of you listening to it. The undefeated. When my voice does that, that's air quotes. The undefeated Frisco Fighters, undefeated no more. And Svante Davenport's interception was a big, big reason why we get to celebrate going 2-0 this weekend. My bull spit is Quentin Dormady's interception, not because Quentin Dormady threw it, but because we were even throwing the ball in that situation. I don't want to see it.
True.
If you're getting eight yards per carry, I talked about this plenty in one of our early segments, but if you're getting 8 yards per carry and you have a 10-point lead, you don't need to be throwing the ball at all. No reason. No explanation. Just doesn't make sense. You're getting everything you need on the ground. Just keep the ball on the ground. I'm not a big believer in that whole, there was a coach back in the early days of football that said 3 things can happen on a pass and 2 of them are bad. That's an incomplete pass and an interception. I don't subscribe to that kind of football. I don't think that kind of football works anymore. The game has evolved and passing is a huge part of it. But when you're getting 8 yards per carry and you got a 10-point lead, it's time to play like it's the 40s, man. Hand off right, hand off left, hand off right, hand off left, all the way down the field if you can. So those are my bull spit and bull's eye for the week. 2 interceptions, one really good, one that gave me a lot of concerns. Hurt me deep. Could have hurt me even deeper if Arlington could have gotten their act together. Luckily, they didn't.
Yeah.
Luckily, they didn't.
We are the Smokin Gunz Podcast. We are a podcast that deals with professional football in San Antonio, including the IFL's San Antonio Gunslingers and the UFL San Antonio Brahmas. We are all over the internet and all your social media avenues at Smokin Gunz Pod. That's Smokin No G, Guns with a Z, P-O-D. You can email the show at smokingunzpod@gmail.com. We are brought to you by some amazing folks. They are our patrons. They are Texas Pete, Alfred Rodriguez, who has been with us tonight as the Mission Highlighter on the live show. James Palmer, also with us tonight. Jay Washington, also with us tonight. Jordan Stubing, also with us tonight. James Stubing, Kim and Greg Nelson, Mo and Iris Ferrante, also with us tonight. They hang out with us live at the show, and they help us support the show and put this all on. If you would like to be a part of that list, you can. You can go to patreon.com/SmokingGunzPod. That's again, Smokin No G, Guns with a Z, P-O-D. and you can help us at a $5, $10, or $20 level. Make the show go. Jay Washington says, Star game just started. Let's go Stars. Man, they gotta. They're down 2-1 in that series, and they went down 2-0. It's getting dire for the Stars. They got to win it. Our patrons are great. We love them. We do special things for them when we get an opportunity, and we would love for you to be a part of that group. You can join us at patreon.com/Smokin Gunz Pod. I think we are part of the Fuel Network. If you have not downloaded the Fuel Sports Network on your Roku or Fire Stick TV, you need to go do that right now, because we're a part of the Fuel Network, and there is great content all day long on Fuel. Some live shows, some backstock shows that they play live. But if you need just good, solid sports coverage that's not ESPN and not Fox Sports and not a bunch of pundits that you barely know, if you want a fan central sports network, we have it for you. It's Fuel. That's what Fuel is all about, and we are a part of that. Go download it and give it a watch, give it a listen. You can check out the most downloaded show on the Fuel Sports Network, the Smokin Gunz Podcast, but you can also check out great shows like The Bottom Line, B-Hawk Live, the X-Fan Show, just to name a few. Derek King Sports Show, the Gridiron, the A-Team with RC and Amanda and Amber. Lots of great stuff going on at Fuel. If you don't have it already, what are you doing?
Check it out. Yeah,
it's free. It doesn't cost you a thing. Go get Fuel Network and go watch and be a part of what's going on at Fuel Network. Did receive news today as I was driving in from the show that Dirty, our good friend Jason Spurgeon, who is known to so many of you as Dirty, is stepping away from his hosting duties on his shows. I have not given him a call. He said, you need to give me a call to get the full story. My bet is he's taking a step back so that Fuel can become more, because he's become a driving force behind what Fuel is, and doing shows and running the network is probably a big deal. Probably a lot. But we will see Dirty again. I'm sure we'll see him on these on this very show at some time in the near future. So he's not going anywhere, but he's not going to be available to everybody. This is a joke, Dirty, if you're out there listening. I guess we needed to raise up the quality of Fuel and take Dirty off of the network and just have the rest of us on here. Maybe that's what's going on.
A convenient side effect.
I told him when I was like, hey, look, I know the Brahmas are going to beat your Battlehawks in the XFL playoffs and keep you from getting a championship, but you don't have to get mad about it and quit, man. You can just power through that. He didn't think that was funny. Jaden Palmer says, ready for Saturday. Let's get loud. So let's talk about what your opportunities are this week. This week, you can go to SanAntonioGunslingers.com and get your tickets right now to go to the Freeman Coliseum on Saturday night. Kickoff is at 6 o'clock, I believe. That's off the top of my head.
6:05, yeah.
And be a part of Star Wars night. First 1,500 folks in the building get free lightsabers, and there'll be tons of great merch. We talked about that in the first part of the show. If you missed it, go back and look. There's a great Star Wars jersey coming out. There's a great Cinco de Mayo jersey available. Lots of great stuff. And then on Sunday at 3 o'clock, the San Antonio Brahmas will be in D.C. taking on the Defenders. My guess is there will be more opportunities with fan watch parties, probably at Fiasco's again, and maybe at Bolero. I don't know what just happened to RC.
Sorry.
The computer just attacked her.
It did.
Wow, that was pretty wild watching.
There was an earthquake in
camera.
Alamo Ranch.
It looked really funny from here because you just got really big and then it just blacked out.
Like right into the shoulder. Yeah.
So those are your opportunities to support San Antonio professional football this week. Get out to the Dome or get out to the Freeman Coliseum. I am not accepting any excuses. There is no reason. It's a Saturday night. It's a great time for a game. It is Frisco. It is one of the best teams that we're going to play all season, and we need you. We need all of you. to get involved and to be loud and bring your cowbells and make noise.
Lots of noise.
Lots of
Do I
noise.
dare ring my cowbell?
Yeah, you can bring your cowbell because you.
No, I
we
said
do
bring it.
cowbells.
She means right now.
Oh, ring it now? Sure, you can. Yeah,
I already did.
With all that being said, when it comes to professional football, whether that is the 100-yard variety or the 50-yard fight, you did those backwards, I think, Leo. You did the 100-yard variety and the 50-yard fight, but that's okay. I won't call you out on the air or anything. I'll tell you about that offline. I won't do that in front of everybody. That wouldn't be cool.
Oh, thank you.
Whether it's up in DC or right here in San Antonio against the Frisco Flyers, Spiders, whatever they call themselves.
Whatever.
Flyers is better. It's a plane. They're flyers. They fly around. Pew pew. They fly around. That's what they got. Are they the Frisco this week since it's Star Wars night? Are they the Frisco TIE Fighters?
Maybe.
So no matter where it's played or how it's played, when it comes to professional football, the 2-0 has got something to say.
Bang, bang.
All right. Thank you so much for those of you that are hanging out with us, all 12 of you.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Let's go Stars. They got to get this one. If they get this one and make it a 3-game series, I'm okay with that. We can make that work. But boy, I was getting nervous there for a while. Mo Ferrante, have a great night. You too, Mo. Thanks for hanging out with us on the show.
Mo, thank you.
Make sure you download the show, like, rate, review, share, do all of the things that we do to get this show out to everybody who might care about San Antonio professional football. Share it on your feeds, share it on your Twitter or your Twitter. I'm just going to call it Twitter. Share it on Twitter. Share it on Instagram if you're an Instagram person. I don't do a lot with that, but do that. And get it out there for everybody. We will see you all, every one of you that is still watching. We will see you at the game on Saturday night in Freeman Coliseum. You are all required to be there. If you don't see you there, you have some explaining to do.
Yeah, I think be with you.
I think I'm going to take a nap until Saturday.
Take a nap. Take a nap.
Oh, show. I understand that. All right, folks, thanks so much for hanging out with us. We will see you Saturday at the game, and then we will see you back online next week. Appreciate y'all.
Bye, guys.
Good night, y'all.